Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of us all?
Published in 1812 by Jacob and Wilhelm Grimm, Kinder- und Hausmärchen, Children's and Household Tales, presents a story far darker than modern adaptations suggest. This is a mythic tale of survival, transformation, and enduring destiny. The story begins in the dead of winter. A queen pricks her finger, spilling 3 drops of blood onto the snow. She wishes for a child defined by these raw elements: skin as white as snow, lips as red as blood, and hair as black as the ebony wood of her embroidery frame. These are primal markers of innocence and life, tying the soon-to-be-born princess directly to the untamed natural world. But this natural life soon clashes with the artificial perfection of a new stepmother. The king's second wife is armed with a magic mirror. It acts as an arbiter of absolute truth, feeding her obsessive vanity with a perfect reflection of her own supremacy. As the years pass, Snow White grows. By her 7th year, the mirror delivers an intolerable verdict. The young princess has surpassed the queen in beauty. Snow White's very existence becomes a fatal threat to the stepmother's fragile ego. When absolute vanity is paired with absolute political power, a supposedly safe royal palace turns into a lethal trap. For the innocent princess, the only escape from her own home is death or exile. The queen summons a huntsman with a brutal execution order. He is to take the child into the woods, kill her, and bring back her lungs and liver as physical proof. Faced with the huntsman's blade, the young princess claims her first moment of true agency. She pleads for her life, promising to run deep into the wild woods and never return. Struck by pity, the huntsman spares her. He slaughters a young wild boar instead, returning to the palace with its organs to satisfy the queen's cannibalistic demand for her stepdaughter's remains. The girl is left completely alone. Terrified, she plunges blindly into the dark. She runs over sharp stones and through sharp thorns as night falls, surrounded by wild beasts that pass by without harming her. The forest acts as a mythic underworld, a space where the princess's previous status vanishes, and she must adapt to a landscape of sharp stones and wild beasts to survive the night. Exhausted, she discovers a tiny, impeccably ordered cottage. Inside, a table is set with 7 small plates and cups. Starving, she takes only a small morsel of bread and a sip of wine from each, careful not to deprive any single owner of their full meal. Night falls, and the masters of the house return from their labor, mining gold and silver in the mountains. Lighting their candles, the 7 dwarfs find their neat cottage disturbed, and a beautiful child fast asleep in the 7th bed. In the morning, they strike a crucial bargain. The dwarfs offer her absolute protection and shelter from the dangers outside. In strict exchange, she agrees to maintain their household, cooking, washing, knitting, and keeping the home in perfect order. Living among the dwarfs, she replaces her royal entitlement with a system of mutual survival, securing her safety through the daily labor of cooking, sewing, and maintaining the order of the cottage. Back at the palace, the queen's false peace shatters. The magic mirror reveals that her stepdaughter is alive, thriving beyond the 7 mountains. This sparks a deadly, escalating cat-and-mouse game. Disguising herself as an old peddler, the queen crosses the mountains. In her first invasion of the sanctuary, she uses brightly colored corset laces in a direct physical attack, pulling them so tight she crushes the very breath out of the girl. The dwarfs return in time to cut the laces, reviving her. But the queen strikes again, this time with a poisoned comb designed to assault the girl's mind and senses. Once more, she collapses senseless, and once more, the dwarfs pull the venomous object from her hair. With each revival, the dwarfs grow more desperate. They issue strict, explicit warnings. The peddlers are her stepmother in disguise, and the door must remain locked to everyone. So the queen crafts her ultimate weapon. She engineers an apple where the white core is completely harmless, but the bright, appealing red skin is laced with a deep, subtle poison, targeting the girl's innocent hunger directly. The queen, disguised as a peasant, eats the safe half to prove it's harmless. Snow White takes the poisoned red half of the apple. With a single bite, she falls dead to the floor, and the queen triumphantly declares that this time the dwarfs cannot wake her. The stepmother relies on an escalating, desperate complexity of witchcraft and disguise. This stands in sharp contrast to Snow White's simple, enduring vulnerability, trusting in the basic goodness of a shared meal. While the queen's envious heart finally finds rest through the mirror's validation, the dwarves return to a devastating scene. They wash the girl with water and wine, but no breath returns. They prepare to bury her, yet they hesitate. The girl's mythic colors, the vibrant red cheeks and snow-white skin, refuse to fade or decay in the dark earth. Unable to hide her away, they build a clear glass coffin. They write her name in gold lettering, carry her up to a mountain peak, and take turns keeping a constant watch over her body. The natural world joins their vigil. A succession of creatures arrives to mourn the lost princess, first an owl, then a raven, and finally a dove. The glass coffin serves as a testament to her physical purity. Even the queen's most subtle poison fails to trigger the decay of the dark earth, leaving her skin white and her cheeks red for years on the mountain peak. A long time passes. Eventually, a king's son traveling through the forest sees the glass coffin on the mountain. He is immediately captivated by her radiant presence persisting in the dark woods. He begs the dwarves to let him take the coffin. When they refuse to sell it for all the gold in the world, he pleads for it as a gift, vowing to honor and protect her above all else. Moved to pity, they agree. The prince's servants carry the heavy case away on their shoulders, but as they walk, they stumble blindly over a hidden rut in the path. The sudden shock of the jolt dislodges the piece of poisoned apple from her throat. Her eyes open, she lifts the lid of the coffin and returns, breathless, to the waking world. Her return to life is a purely mechanical event. Once the servant's stumble dislodges the poisoned fragment from her throat, the obstruction to her breath vanishes, and she simply wakes up. The prince joyfully escorts her to his father's castle. A magnificent royal wedding is arranged, marking Snow White's triumphant return from the underworld as a fully realized sovereign figure. Back in her own kingdom, the evil stepmother dresses in her finest clothes and consults her mirror one last time. It delivers a devastating truth. The young bride is 1,000 times fairer than she. Driven entirely by her own inescapable vanity, the queen cannot stay away. She is compelled to travel to the neighboring kingdom to witness this new rival for herself. Upon arriving, she immediately recognizes the resilient girl she failed to kill. Paralyzed with terror and anguish, she is forced to face her punishment. She is made to step into a pair of iron shoes pulled directly from a coal fire, dancing until she falls dead to the floor. Snow White's survival depends on her ability to endure the forest, the labor, and the queen's repeated attacks. By the time of her wedding, she has outlasted the vanity that sought to destroy her, leaving the stepmother to consume herself in a final, frantic dance.